Hey everyone, Dave here. Today I'm going to work on an issue that I've had on my 73 TL 125 ever since I got this, and that is that it leaks fuel out of the carburetor, out of the overflow tube at the bottom of the float bowl, and overnight, over a couple days, it gets the whole garage smelling like gasoline. I mean, it runs fine. It doesn't appear to be leaking fuel when I'm riding it, but when I park it after 10 or 15 minutes, everything's nice and dry. But when I come in the morning, there's always gas on the floor and the whole garage smells like gasoline. So I went and ordered a carburetor rebuild kit. I have that with me here today. This is what it came in it. Hopefully it actually goes to a 73 TL125. We're going to find out. But I'm going to pull the carburetor off. We'll get it over at the bench, and we're going to tear it down and see if I can figure out exactly what's going on with it. I'm going to check, initially I'm going to check the needle and seat to see if that thing is leaking or something. But let's get the carb off the bike, get it on the bench, and we'll start tearing it down and see what we find. Okay, got the carburetor off the motorcycle, and now I'm going to take it apart and clean it all up and put some of our parts from our rebuild kit in it, and we'll see if we can get it to run just as well but not leak fuel. And this is where the fuel was coming out, so I'm just going to start taking it apart, starting with the bowl. Comes off like this. Kind of dirty in there, but not too bad. And so this is the float here. And the float comes off just by pushing this pin out. Floats are empty, so there's no leakage in there. And here's the needle. I think it's leaking through this needle and seat. And it just continues to fill this bowl. Fill the bowl up until it gets above the level of this tube. And then it starts pouring in the tube, which then starts coming out the bottom where the hose is hooked up. So that's what I think is going on. So here's the needle. I do see a little bit of a ring. I don't know if you can see that or not. I do see a little bit of a ring around the tip of that needle. Maybe a wear mark. So we're going to replace this. And then this is the seat. I believe I have that with part of the kit, so let's take that off. And so there's the seat. So the needle and seat, the bowl, the floats. I'm going to take out the main jet. I've cleaned this, so this is pretty clean. The jet's clean. The emulsifying tube, all the holes in it are clean. And then we have another jet over here. I don't know if this is called a pilot jet perhaps. Okay, this looks like a part that comes with the kit. So we get that as well. This probably hasn't been out of this channel for 50 years. And I have a new one of these in the kit as well. I have a new O-ring, so I don't care if that gets damaged. Got a new one of those. I don't think I'm going to tamper with the choke at all. Choke seemed to work fine. I'm just going to leave that. What do you got? This is an idle screw, and here's an air mixture screw, and I want to make note of where they are, so I'm going to screw them in and count how far in they are, and then when I replace the new ones in there, I'll put them in the same place. So about 3/4 of a turn in. Let's make a note of that. And so now I can take this out. It should have a spring in there as well. Okay, I've got one of those in the kit. Got a spring as well. I'm just going to put that spring back on that. The idle screw here. This also has a spring. I've got a couple of springs in the kit. And that's about it for the carb. The bowl itself has a drain plug. Wasn't leaking from the drain plug. That also has an O-ring, which I see comes with the kit. And now I'm just going to clean everything up. Okay, so I cleaned this up with carb cleaner. You don't want to use brake cleaner because brake cleaner can have an adverse effect on rubber parts. So I used carburetor cleaner, cleaned it all up. Again, this is not a restoration level rebuild. This bike was running perfectly. It's just that it leaked fuel. So I'm just doing a quick rebuild kit. I mean, I could take this stuff and I could take these parts and carefully mask them off and put them in my glass bead cabinet. They'd come out looking like brand new. And I will do that at a later date, but today I just want to get this thing to stop leaking gas. Alright, so let me start with... Okay, this was not part of the rebuild kit, this emulsifying tube. So I'm just going to put this in first. So I'm going to put this in next. You know, snug it in there. I don't want to go crazy. It doesn't have to be super tight. We don't want to strip anything, but we don't want anything loosening up either. So that's in. We've got, the next is the seat, which I think is the problem that I'm having. This is the problem part. And so this comes with a washer, which didn't have a washer on the one that I took off. But the washer would go on here. So that's a brand new seat. And we'll torque this on gently. That's it. And then a brand new needle with a spring-loaded tip on one side. So this tip is spring-loaded. But that's the needle there that's going to drop in there and make a nice tight seal. I'm not going to put that in yet, because every time I flip it over it'll just fall out. The next thing I'm going to put in would be this idle screw. So give me the larger spring. Goes on here. And this is going in here, like this. 2 3/4. So there's 1, 2, and 3/4. So that's a starting point. We can tweak that when we get the thing running, if the idle needs to come up or down. And then the next thing we've got is this air mixture screw. which goes in here. Screw this down till it bottoms out. Now I'm going to turn this 3/4 of a way out. So there's half, 3/4. So that's what that looks like. Okay, and then the jets and the seat. Okay, this kit also came with a main jet. The main jet that's in there is a 95. The one in this kit is an 88. Because this thing ran perfectly, I'm just going to leave the jet in there that it came with, which was a 95. Alright. Now the bowl. And I can feel it squishing that rubber O-ring. Snug that tight. I'm going to put the needle in. You just drop it right in there, just like that. And then the floats go in this way. And then the float is held in just by this pin. Okay, and then when you put the cap on, the shape of this bowl keeps the pin from sliding either way and loosening up. So the pin is inside this little channel here. Alright, got a gasket. Doesn't matter which way this fits in. I did clean out this channel. So that fits in there nice. Now the bowl. Snaps in nice and tight, pressing against that brand new gasket. This gasket was kind of squished quite a bit, so it took a little more effort to snap this in place because it's got a thicker gasket in there. But we're looking pretty good here. I'm running out of parts. I've got an O-ring on the intake side. It's going to go there. And then I have one more gasket that's going to go on the cap that's got the throttle cable on it. We'll go over to the bike and I'll show you where this goes. But I'm pretty well set here. And I really believe that the needle and seat, because I can look at this seat and I can see kind of a wear ring around it, so that it wasn't, I don't think it was making a good seal here, just allowing the bowl to fill up and up and up and up and up past that needle and seat, up to the top of that drain tube, and it started pouring in the drain tube, and then we'll come out the hose on the bottom. Alright, let's go over to the bike, and we'll put this gasket in, and we're almost ready to put things back together again. Okay, so here we are at the bike. Here's the throttle cable. This is the slider that goes down through the top of the carburetor. And if you can look here, this is where our gasket's going to go. Right on the top. The gasket that's in there looks fine, but we got to bring a new one in there, so we're going to replace it. Okay, so that's in there nice, and that just kind of squishes over the top of the carburetor. This is all nice and clean. This looks good. And so now I'm ready to put the carburetor back on the bike. Okay, so carburetor goes on here, and this slide has a long slit in one side of it and then a shorter notch. If you can see, that notch has kind of a ramp on it, and that is what the idle mixture, or the idle screw, protrudes in and touches that ramp. And the further you push it in, it goes up the ramp and raises the idle. If you pull the screw out, This allows this slide to drop further down and lowers the idle. Get these nuts started again. Torque down nice and tight. Okay, make sure it's not binding up, it's springing back freely. Let's hook up a gas line to it and let's see if she'll start without leaking. Got the gas turned on, got the choke on halfway. Let's see what happens here. Oh my God, one kick. You gotta be kidding me. That looks good. That sounds good right there. Not bad for 50 years old. Okay, so here we are. It's been overnight and there's no leaking of gas. It's not smelling up my garage, which is awesome, which is what I really cared about. And so that was pretty simple. That was kind of fun. There's not a whole lot to this carburetor. A couple of jets, a couple of screws, some gaskets. And I'm telling you, God's honest truth, that thing started up on the very first kick. Once I let the fuel kind of fill the bowl. It's running good. And so I'm happy. And so that concludes this video. Hope you enjoyed that. If so, please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.